I spent a long holiday weekend with my friends' children, and they're cute, but they're also really good cardio. Kids are difficult, y'all.
Well, I am back home after an exciting adventure, and I am ready to soothe my brain with some bad TV.
Speaking my language, homegirl. Also, is it just me, or is an ear of corn not really that fun to eat? Seems like a lot of work. You only get a few bites, and then you need dental floss.
And dirty hands. Who wants it? Losing your taste for good wine and coffee after having endured a fever and the worst chills of your life seems like a mean joke, COVID, you big mean jerk.
Yeah, get out of here. Scram. Have such a good day. Hey world, hello. How's it going? This is a show called Have Such a Good Day, where we try to have one, and we hope you can as well.
We try to laugh as much as we can so that we don't fall into a deep, long cry. And we
So I thought you were going to say deep depression, and I was like, wow, we're getting deep here.
well, it feels
Right
like
away.
it's really funny. So it's episode 155, Sarah, and it feels like we've been doing the show for an eternity. That's not a bad
have.
thing. Like,
We have.
wow,
Many
155.
years.
We're so accomplished. But then I see people like Mark Marin and his feed, and he's like, oh, no big deal. Episode 1345. It's like, whoa. Granted, he has a show every day, so that adds up
Oh
pretty
yeah,
quickly. But
it's totally different.
still,
I mean, daily shows that I do, if you say, most of the time, 5 days a week, right? I mean, some people would do stuff 7 days a week, but let's call it five. You're gonna get to 1,000 episodes pretty quick.
that's true. That's true.
Just with some consistency. But considering that we're a weekly show, and we've even taken a little hiatus here and there. Sometimes, we take a bye week. We mostly don't, though.
We mostly
In fact, I
don't.
was thinking about that because I was like, okay, 155. So more or less, as long as we don't kill each other before then, in about a year, we'll get to episode 200.
Uh-huh. Yeah. No,
That's
it's true.
52 weeks, that whole thing. And I was like, wow, that's crazy that it would take us a whole year to get to episode 200. But at the same time, the whole thing has gone by so quickly that, you blink and it's going to be 2023 anyway.
Yeah, time is a very strange thing. It really is.
Construct.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like takes forever, but then it feels like not long at all. And then it's like, I mean, how do you even wrap your head around a concept like time? I mean, you just can't. I mean, we've been doing it after all this time, and we have not come to any conclusions.
Quite a few physicists have thought about this at length. I just kind of, it's funny. It was the 4th of July weekend, Independence weekend in the U.S. for those who celebrate, and so I had the day off of Daily Tech News Show, which is my daily show, yesterday, and Heather was traveling, and so we both took a day off that we would normally record this show. So it was a long weekend for me, which is, that happens. You got holiday weekends here and there. And most of the time, as I'm going into the holiday weekend, I'm like, yes, oh my gosh, Sunday is not going to be Sunday. It's going to be Saturday part 2. Because then I've got Monday, which is really the Sunday.
No Sunday
but it's
scaries.
no
Love
Sunday
it.
scaries. Yeah, like Sunday is just a cool day. But it always goes by way quicker than I think
Yeah,
it will.
of course.
And then I end up still feeling like harried because I'm like, now I'm behind because all these things that I would have done on Monday I kind of blew off.
Yep.
But this weekend, and I don't know why, it's probably because I was hanging with good friends. We had a very slow cadence going. There was not a lot of running around at all. I mean, I may have done a couple of errands, but I mostly was just sort of chilling with my friends and their kids, eating food and drinking hard kombucha. Pretty nice. And it really kind of felt like, wow, I enjoyed this long extended weekend. It felt long
Yeah.
in a good way because that doesn't always happen, even if you've got the extra time.
Well, that's great. You seem refreshed. You seem like you're ready to
thank you.
tackle anything. And it's funny. I
I'm going to tackle you
yeah, try me. Try me.
straight to the gut, Heather.
Wouldn't that be funny? Well, if we
Yes,
want
yes,
to,
we'd love
if you
it.
guys want to bring back some video, we'll tackle each other and It'll be a grand old
Yes, we
time.
will wrestle for your entertainment.
So yeah, I had a little trip and I got back yesterday and it was a long drive. It always is, but I definitely felt like I had like a long break, like longer than it was a long weekend. It was like your amount of time. It was about 4 days, but it felt a
Hmm.
lot longer. I mean, it was very eventful. But the cool thing about it was that it's been hard to be spontaneous in the world, in life, the last couple of years because of COVID, this pandemic. We've had to live day by day because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Hmm.
It's been an interesting sort of experience trying to make plans and execute them. So when I suffered with COVID a couple weeks ago. I guess it's been a couple weeks now, and I was probably sick for about a week, maybe a little over a week.
Hmm.
And it was like gorgeous weather while I was sick, and I was inside watching TV, and I got so restless, like probably the most restless I've ever felt in my life. Like the pure definition of restlessness. And so
Like when someone says climbing the walls, you're like, that was
I
me.
was like, I kept going, like, I feel like a caged animal. Yes, climbing the walls, caged animal, whatever kind of metaphor you want. It was so cool because I often am not the best decision maker, especially when it comes to making a decision on a whim or just like quick decision. Come on, like, what are you gonna do? And I just I was kind of like waffling. I knew I needed to kind of do something, kind of, blow this taco stand kind of thing. And
Hmm.
woke up in the morning, booked a nice hotel. Like that morning, I got the last room for the next day. No, 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 no. For that day, I booked a room, the last room at this nice spa the day of, and it felt so good. It was like I was so proud of myself. I was like, I patted myself on the back. I'm like, great decision. Wow. Like, I mean, seriously, it was awesome. And it was like I wasn't gonna go anywhere. And then I decided the morning of to do this,
Hmm.
got in the car, great road trip vibes. I felt so alive.
Alive.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
was just like a new me. I was like smiling walking down the street. I really was. I caught myself. I was really having a great time. And the only thing I would say that was a little bit of a damper was that. So I know a lot of people have complained about losing their sense of smell and taste on COVID. Well, I
Hmm.
didn't. I mean, I lost my appetite. Like I didn't want to eat for days. It was hard to get back into eating normally, but I mean, I just felt sick. I mean, I can't really recall not being able to, taste or smell things. The one thing I did notice as kind of a residual thing, and hopefully this isn't like a long COVID thing, but when I was actually down in wine country in your neck of the woods, Sarah. I know we almost hung out. It was really a close
Hmm.
call, but
I know. Ships in the night. We're gonna
exactly.
get it. We're gonna get them next
We
time.
are for
Yep.
sure. But I couldn't I felt like coffee and alcohol, like wine especially, just did not taste right.
Agree.
And
Hmm.
mostly wine was so weird. It was like it kind of rubbed me wrong. It was really a bummer because I went wine tasting and I went to some nice restaurants, and I just, yeah, there's like it's like a dull sense of taste. Like something that should be amazing is just like meh. So I'm kind of hoping that,
Hmm.
you know, it's funny though, because I had a bunch of exciting desserts. Like there was someone's birthday. We had ice cream cake. Like I had some kind of like I kind of had an ice cream sundae one night, which I don't normally do. And that was fine. Like that I could taste. That was like the one thing I actually really did enjoy. But it's just the cruel irony. You get super sick with like the worst, most uncomfortable symptoms, and you can't taste things that you love after you get better. It's like just feels, having like 102 temperature, the chills, headache, nausea, and it's like, isn't that enough? Like, can't I just
I know.
bounce back and
Right.
enjoy
Yeah.
something?
Yes.
It's cruel.
Don't you little disease monsters realize that I've suffered already, and I would like
Yes.
to not suffer anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'd almost rather because it was a pretty brutal, like the 3 days of like the intense symptoms. It was
Yeah,
brutal, like it really was.
yeah.
And so I just feel like, okay, so I endured, I did it. I'm COVID free. I went through it. I suffered. Now let me enjoy my wine. So I'm like, I know it's good for me. I haven't had much. I didn't obviously drink when I was sick, but I had some party favors. There were some fun times that were had down there. I won't get into the details, but I probably did some things to my body that I shouldn't have, especially just testing negative, after coming off of the sickness. But I didn't care. I was like, I will get sick again, I guess, because I'm so restless. I have to go do something crazy, get out of the house, whatever. But I spent a couple days at a spa. I kind of floated around. There's a hot springs and super super nice, really decadent. And then I spent a couple days in Sonoma with a friend who has a cute little house there, and she is such a good cook, and she knows how much I love her cooking. So she made me like homemade crepes, and like we just sat in the kitchen and she just like cooked for me, and she treated me like really, like I felt very very loved and very not mothered, but like I really did feel it was a very refreshing trip. And so I when I got home, I'm on a couple newsletters. I don't know if you are, Sarah, but there's a couple fun ones. One of them is called Gloria. A lot of my girlfriends are on it. It's kind of geared toward women of the midlife. I don't know if you read it, Sarah, but
No, I've never even heard of it.
oh, it's fun. I'll sign you up, or I'll send you a link.
Yeah, send me a link. Don't sign me
I
up
won't
to a
send you up.
newsletter just
I will
yet.
not
I
do
like
that,
to
Sarah.
control these
I
things.
mean,
Okay.
I know you very well. I would never do that. I would
Can you imagine
never. I
if you're
don't want
like,
to be on your shit list.
surprise? And I'm like, what? Now I have to unsubscribe to something? Thanks.
So
No,
they make
I belong to some newsletters. I often just have no time to read them, and
me
so they
too.
just go into Gmail and they're never seen. But I subscribe to a
Yeah,
few.
some of them are fun. Like I'll just leave them in my inbox when I have time, I like to kind of poke through them. But they often
Mm-hmm.
it's what's nice about it is this one in particular. Usually there'll be an article about some interesting subject matter that usually I'm like, wow, that's what I was just thinking about yesterday. And then they'll give some suggestions on like what to cook this week and what to watch and what to listen to, and just fun stuff, art, like just funny little tweets. I don't know, little bits and bobs. And so one of the things that they pitched to everybody this week is an Instagram. It's a woman who doodles. She's an artist of some kind, and it's called People Complaining. It's on Instagram. It's all one word, People Complaining, and it's kind of a fun concept. She basically, you write her, like you send a submission, and
Mm-hmm.
say it's something you're just like, ugh, I'm exhausted, my work is a nightmare, or whatever it is, and she creates art with it, and sort of just like translates it into like a little portrait of somebody kind of saying whatever it is that they're complaining about, and it's very cute, it's very charming. So if y'all need to have like a little bit of a cathartic complaining experience, I highly recommend messaging this gal. I think her name is Naomi, but again, People Complaining on Instagram. And like the most recent one is this girl Valerie. She's 36. She said, "This is not the world I envisioned being an adult in. This was supposed to be a better place." And it's just a really cute way of encapsulating like something that might be considered like grousing or bitching about something. But anyway, I thought it could be fun for you
Mm-hmm.
guys to check out. Go ahead, submit one. I hope y'all out there staying healthy. That's an order.
Yeah. I mentioned that I hung out with some friends over the weekend, holiday weekend. I do not have children of my own, but we had a full house here, and when I say full house, it wasn't like an Airbnb situation. Everyone who was staying on the property that I live on, I know, and
Yeah.
they are my friends. So it was awesome. because that hasn't happened very often. I mean, even when my friends slash landlords are here, sometimes, in the past, well, especially during COVID, it's kind of like they're kind of doing family stuff. So I'm not, of course I'm kind of in the mix and I'm happy to see them, but we're not all just like hanging. Like, what are we all doing for breakfast, lunch, and dinner type thing. And so it was such a nice vibe. And all the kids, kids are kids, but these are really cute kids. And kids love this property because of the pool and all that stuff. And like nothing broke, not terribly anyway. And we, ate a lot of good food, and they all left this morning. And, I was like, aw, I mean, I know that we can't just all live here and be on vacation all day, every day. In fact, I was sort of the only one who kind of had to, well, everybody else was traveling today, so that's work in another sense. But, I kind of was like, well, 4th of July is over, Sarah goes back to work. Even though I'm kind of taking another long weekend this weekend because I'm going to a wedding. But it was like, I felt like I was on vacation. Like, besides just, oh, I gotta run to the store and grab a little this or that, or just get gas because I'm low on gas. Like, that's easy. I didn't really have anything, where you're like, okay, I have to do that today.
Yeah.
I timed it hopefully pretty well. I'm just really gonna have a much busier week this week, but it felt like I was on vacation, and I just don't even know that I've ever felt like that.
Wow.
Living
like as a
here.
staycation kind of thing.
Sure, but almost like we were all on vacation.
Oh, I see.
Just
Yeah.
because, these folks are from out of town, and, a lot of folks don't know the area very well, and I don't sit around by a pool all day.
Yeah, that's
even though I
true.
have one. It's like, well, I'm, working, or there are guests here. That, where
It's like
kind of
business.
off limits
Like,
to me.
yeah, you
Yeah,
work from
it's
home too, so it makes
that's
it
exactly
feel, yeah.
That's exactly how I feel, is that most of the time, sure, I've got my own space and I have, I'm pretty comfy, but it's business.
Yeah.
This is mostly a business situation, and not just, put up your feet and maybe, take a nap in the sun in the hammock type thing. I don't really do that
Yeah.
very often. I don't have a lot of time to. So it was so nice.
Oh,
It
that
was
sounds
really
lovely.
It was really nice, and I look forward to more days like that, even though we're all very busy, yada, yada, yada.
Well, I love the whole concept of a staycation, especially when you're not restless and you like want to stay home. But yeah, I just heard a real mouthful from my friend Avril, who I think I mentioned in a previous show that she spent the last few weeks in Israel on this trip that she had planned, way in advance, and a lot of stuff went wrong. She got COVID. That the trip coming back sounded seriously, like I told her, I said, I wouldn't even think you were overreacting if you said you never want to travel internationally again. It was like that bad. I was like, oh my God, sounds like you seriously went through hell and back. Like, trying to get to this place, trying to get through the trip, and getting back was so terrible, especially with the way the airports are right now. So you did the right thing, by staying
she's
home.
flying El Al. That's difficult on its own anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was the airline she flew, but yeah, it can be, Israel can be a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're coming from and where you're going afterwards.
Going somewhere exotic, it's like you have to pay the price. You know what I mean? It's
This is so, I mean, I act like I've never flown before, and I've been on, more planes than the average person for sure in my lifetime, but it's been a while. So in a couple days from, as of this recording, getting on a plane. Well, I'll be on 2 planes because I have to connect somewhere before I get to my final destination. And so I'm thinking, all right, well, I'm only going to be there for 3 nights, barely 3 nights. My first night, I basically get in late and like just go directly to sleep.
Yeah.
So it's quick trip, really. Weekend's going to go by quick. So yeah, I don't need to like bring some big old suitcase I got to check.
Yeah.
Like, why would I want to do that? So let's just think about like, okay, simplicity, like, what's the outfit I'm going to wear on the plane?
Yep.
What are the 2 outfits I'm going to wear that are wedding appropriate?
Totally.
Which includes shoes, which shoes always make up, that's always the hardest part.
The worst
'cause they're-
part. Yeah.
Yeah, they're bulky, whatever.
Mhm.
You know, especially if it's heels, whatever. And then what is the outfit that I'm going to wear comfortably on the plane ride back that isn't the first outfit, just in case that first outfit feels kind of stale at that
Yeah,
point, you
exactly.
know? But that's kind of it. But then there's toiletries.
Yep.
And you know, it's again, I am preaching to the choir. I know many of you know all things about travel, but I haven't. This is the stupidest thing, but I was thinking about this morning as I'm putting my contacts in. You know, my contact solution bottle is too big
Mhm.
technically. I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes you can get away with it, but like if they take it from me, I would be like, well, that's a problem. Now I need to like go to a CVS as soon as I land in Cleveland,
Yeah.
you know, which is it's not happening. So yeah, and I was like, well, what did I do before? Oh, wait a second. I started wearing contacts
Mhm.
after I stopped flying.
Mhm.
You know, because it was in COVID times because I just ended up going blind for completely unrelated reasons, just because, you know, age. And so I'm like, I guess I can like find some sort of small container and put enough solution in there to get me through a couple days. Just not something I've ever thought about before.
Well, it's funny because I've had this conversation so many times lately because I feel like I've gone on a lot of these short trips in the last like
Mm-hmm.
year, and I've had to pack light. I mean, unless I'm going in my car, like I'll just throw a bunch of stuff in the trunk, which is really convenient. But yes, in terms of these quick flights to LA, the airline in particular, like you have to pay for your luggage, so you really want to pack light. So I've gotten pretty good about packing for a week, really simply. Yeah, I'll go through each, like, okay, what am I doing? Okay, I only need X amount of socks, and just kind of doing the math basically, and trying to keep it as simple as possible. And what I've noticed is the middle age thing, because I used to travel easy and light, throw a backpack on, no big deal. Didn't even think about, oh, wait, I need face wash or whatever. Now that we're older and we have our routines and we're a little more high maintenance, I guess you could say, contact lenses. I need several different glasses now. So I'm like, okay, I got my reading glasses, my regular glasses if I'm not wearing my contacts, and my sunglasses. Or if I'm not going to wear my contacts, I need my prescription glasses. So it's like, that's 4 pairs of glasses. Like, that's kind
I
of
know.
insane. And so what I
Well, and it's
do,
like you're not even being extra. You're like,
no,
no, depending on the scenario, I actually kind of need all of
that's what I'm
these.
saying. It's like, so what I've been doing is I think, again, like, I'm a maximizer. We've talked about this on the show. I really pride myself when I when I go on a trip, like this last trip. I'm like, God, I packed really well. Like, I like patted myself on the back. I'm like, that was like a perfect packing job. Like, I'm so glad I brought 3 swimsuits, because I went into the pool like every day and they would be wet, and it was like the perfect amount. I made sure I only
Heather.
brought two
Oh gosh.
two pairs of shoes. I try to just keep it as, just sneakers and flip-flops, and I'll just wear sneakers with a dress if I go out to dinner. And anyway, so yes, it's a grueling process packing these days, but I usually start many days in advance, and I would highly recommend that you do that, and then you can edit later. So like, I'll kind of be like, okay, I definitely want this, throw all this stuff in there, close it up, and then look at it again the next day and like edit it down. So because I'm actually leaving in a couple weeks for about 8 days, going to Chicago and the Midwest area, and it's gonna be hot. And I'm like, okay, so I'm not gonna be able to fit a lot of shoes. So I'm like, I'm literally probably just gonna bring flip-flops and a pair of sneakers, like a good pair
I
of
mean,
sneakers.
yeah, it's like again, like if you don't, that's what I would do. I mean, I
Yeah.
happen to be going to a wedding and they probably wouldn't care, honestly, but I would like to look like I made some bit of an effort. So it's
Yeah.
like I got to bring heels, but I'm not wearing them on a plane, so they got to
Mm-mm.
go somewhere.
Mhm.
It's just it's just packing.
Yeah.
Packing can be, and it's funny. I love because you and I are different in this way. That you are very good at planning and organization. I mean, I am too in my own chaotic way, but I'm also a last minute person because I feel like if I'm not under enough pressure, I just
You won't do it. You'll
won't do it.
procrastinate. Totally.
I just won't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's, at the last minute, I'm like, all right, let's move, people. But that also, especially when it comes to air travel, and has nothing to do with COVID. This is just air travel in general. And I've done this so many times, is like, I kind of get to the point where I'm like, haven't really thought about this enough. Now I'm in a bit of a panic. So I'm just like not going to pack any toiletries and hit a Walgreens when I get to New York.
Yeah.
Or
You're like, why did I do that to myself?
yeah, and sometimes it's fine, but it's also like in fact, I had a work trip with a couple of colleagues last time I went to Vegas for CES, and I was just like, I actually didn't do this on purpose. This was just a my bad type of thing. I forgot to pack like my cosmetics bag. And I was going to be doing video stuff, and I'm like, I need cosmetic. Like,
Yeah.
I can't just be rolling and fresh faced. Like, I need, I need a little something, something. And so we landed, and we had to do stuff kind of within the next couple of hours. And I was like, you guys, I need to go to like a drugstore and buy like cheap makeup. It won't take me that long. I know exactly what I need, but I have to do it. And they were sort of like, do you? And I'm like, oh yes, oh yes. That's what we have. That's my
Imperative.
first order of business.
Yeah.
You don't have to come with me, but I need to get into the back of an Uber and do that right now, which I did. And it was like way off the strip and like in this neighborhood where I'm like, where am I? But yeah, I want to avoid that this time.
Yeah.
I want to at least, I've only got 2 days and I haven't started packing anything and I don't really know what I'm going to pack, but I'm like, the contact lens solution thing. See, Sarah? Okay. You've got time to go get a little, I don't know, travel size something.
Yeah. Do
At
that.
a drugstore
Yeah.
down the way. And then it's fixed. And it doesn't turn into some panicky thing, the day you're leaving.
That is the hardest part though, is to get all those little bottles like in one bag, and just like that I would start on now, just so that you have like a little bit of lead time. But when I talk about that maximizing thing, sometimes I make myself crazy, because I'll be like, okay, so I've got this trip coming up. It's gonna be really hot. What am I gonna wear? It's gonna be like really hot, where I'm like, I'm not used to it. Like, I'm not used to Midwest summer humidity. And I'm like, well, we're gonna be like walking around the city, and it's like, okay, so like, okay, I am on this mad search for like the perfect, like kind of still cute and stylish sneaker, that I would like wear, during a day, say we're going to a museum or whatever, and I could just bring those. Like, those are my main shoes, and they're comfortable. They have to be somewhat practical. So I spent all this time like researching like what would be the best shoe that would go with everything and that would still be cute and blah blah blah. So yes, the endless curation of our lives. I make myself crazy sometimes, but it pays off, Sarah. It certainly pays off.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sure. Yeah, I just find I've got a few, actually quite a few friends who happen to be going to the same wedding that I'm going to, and obviously a popular topic, especially with the ladies, is what are you going to wear? And a couple of weeks ago I was like, I don't know, I have to like figure something out, maybe do like a Rent the Runway type thing, which is not a service that I use, but I'm familiar with it. And there are competing others, where you can just get something for a few days that's nice.
Yeah.
So you don't have to feel like, oh, I spent $450 on this dress that I don't even like that much
Yeah.
and I'll never wear again.
Totally.
Or you can buy something and, and I've got stuff in my closet that's like, yeah, it's wedding appropriate. Most of it has been worn to a wedding or two already. So I don't love that idea, but I'm also not that weird about things like that. It's kind of like, you know what?
They'll
My
probably
presence is
forget.
a present.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's been so
You're
long
lucky
since
I'm
you've
here.
worn it, and wear different earrings and wear different shoes, or just change it up somehow.
Something. Yeah, exactly.
Accessorize.
It's like I'm not that weird about stuff like that, but I also want to make an effort.
Sure,
I
of
want to make an
course,
effort.
of course.
It's not like I'm going to show up in jeans
No.
and be like, I just couldn't get it together, guys. So-
I have all the faith that you're going to find something in your closet and you're going to look great.
Yeah, well, now I have to, because I spent some time over the weekend being like, okay, I know this is kind of last minute, and I know a couple other people who are who, I've talked about, like, what are you going to wear? Have been stressing about this a little bit. And so I know people are trying to make an effort.
Hmm.
And, so let me just kind of see what my internet options are. And it's like, they're really bad.
Yeah.
I can't get anything unless I were to like ship it to Ohio, where
Hmm.
this wedding happens to be, and like hope that the timing works, that it would show up. It's like, that's not a good
It's pretty
idea. Let's
sketchy.
not
Yeah.
let's not do that. That just it sounds like a recipe for disaster. And like, I don't, I know we're gonna be half the time. There's Airbnb involved. It's a whole thing.
Hmm.
But even then, it was like half the stuff where I'm like, well, that's actually kind of a cute dress.
Yeah.
Like maybe I could just go extra small and call it a day. And then it's like, yes, the first delivery date is August 9th because it's a very popular dress. Because these are being rented, right? It's
Hmm.
like they get sent out, they get worn, they get cleaned, and then they're available again. They're not just all sitting on a rack somewhere.
Mm-mm.
It's a whole process. So that's not happening. And I now do not have any motivation to go to my nearest mall and find a dress that, again, I don't want. Didn't want to, don't want to go to the
I
mall
wish you could
anyway.
raid my closet because I have
Not a place I
a
go.
couple dresses that I think would be great on you.
Yeah, I do too. I
Too
do too.
bad.
Too bad, too sad. But you know what? Life goes on.
It
It could
does
be a lot
indeed.
worse. I am lucky to have my health,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that you're feeling better as well.
Thanks, Lane. Oh my gosh. I mean, after being sick like that, you really do realize you stop taking certain things for granted. You're like, "Oh my God, I'm just so glad I don't feel bad anymore." It's a funny thing. And maybe it's good to get sick every once in a while because it just sort of like reminds you we have these bodies that work for us most of the time. And then you kind of take it for granted. But um, my friend, I wanted to mention this thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately. My friend Elizabeth, who is very funny. She's somebody who I've known for a long time. She's on a big group thread called the Chat Olympics. I've mentioned that before. Um,
Hmm.
she's the older sister of my friend Alice, who you know. And she said something the other day. It was actually on the chat. We were just talking about the state of the world, which has been a big topic lately because there's so much going on and it's kind of hard to keep up. 24-hour news cycle, lots of kind of bad things are happening. And so she said, in regards to all of the crazy things that have been happening in the world, she said, I maintain that everything is always in the process of sucking donkey balls, and we can actually take succor, is that how you pronounce that? From that in a backwards kind of way. And I really, really liked what she said because it's like you're pummeled every day by stuff that is a bummer, and you have to find a way to deal with it and move forward and kind of you find the positive and just sort of like the truth of the matter is that like if you look at history, there's always been stuff going on. The world is complicated. There's always stuff happening, wars and political strife and epidemics and whatnot. And what she's basically saying is that knowing that things have always kind of been hard on some level, it almost makes her feel optimistic and happy. Like, that nothing really out of the ordinary is happening, that all of this is kind of normal. And like that being said, we shouldn't be too discouraged, and, you should continue to push being a good person and doing great things and sort of letting the concept of all the bad stuff like propel you into doing some good stuff. Kind of a heavy concept, but really it turns light when you kind of deconstruct it. But I was thinking about this a lot on my road trip, and sort of, we our lives have kind of gotten more back to normal, but they did come to a screeching halt. A lot of people were stuck indoors, blah 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 blah. But like really trying to spend a lot of time thinking about like if I'm making any plans, trying to enjoy the experience of anticipating stuff. Like even like
Mm.
the weekend you just had, Sarah, like even though it was pretty simple. You had friends come over, you guys had kind of a lovely, you kind of leaned into just kind of being there by the pool, eating food, and but like looking forward to that. And because, you don't really know exactly how the experience is going to go. I mean, think about my friend Avril, who just went to Israel, thought it was going to go a certain way. It went a different way. But there was that time of anticipation that she could lean in and kind of have a fantasy about what it would be like. And so
Yeah.
I'm kind of, sort of, there's the obvious stuff where you're planning a party or you're going to a party and you're looking in your closet for a fun dress or whatever, and or even the small stuff, like maybe you're receiving a package on Monday, or you're going to get your teeth cleaned and it feels good or whatever. And just sort of, instead of dreading, I guess I'm trying to say that I'm trying to be better about like trying to find all of these big and small moments and like really enjoying the process of like putting them together or planning them, and
Mm-hmm.
and also at the same time trying to be better about the spontaneous stuff, because when I planned my trip, which wasn't very planned, it was very spontaneous, um I really realized like how much I miss like spontaneity and how much joy you can get from that. And not
Sure.
being so
Yeah.
bogged down by, well, what if this happens? And what if that happens? Anyway, I thought it was sort of a
Yeah.
fun thing. It's kind of a lot to unpack, but I'm curious to know from you guys, like what incentivizes you, I guess, to, I don't know, stay on a
Keep
positive
on
path.
keeping on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to your future self. Email us at hi@havesuchagoodday.com.
Yeah. On in that vein, I was I don't totally remember the context of the conversation, but I was talking to a friend about like the concept of regret.
Uh-huh.
And we all have regrets on some level, right? And there are certain scenarios that have happened in my life, and they're not really important, but they were important at the time
Mm-hmm.
and pivotal.
Yeah.
So it's like I made this decision and my life went down this path because
Yep.
of that decision.
Yep.
And we all do that all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you're like, I had a sandwich instead of the other kind of sandwich for lunch, and I didn't feel
Totally.
that very good. And so I wish
I
I
made
just
a
would have
bad decision about that sandwich,
gotten
and
the
that
other
does
sandwich.
happen.
Yeah. And then there's other things where you're like, oh, this person treated me very poorly, and I
Mhm.
should have said this, but I
Yeah,
said that
totally.
instead, or vice
You can
versa
make
kind of
yourself
thing.
crazy with that
You
stuff.
make yourself crazy. And I mean, these are sometimes things I try not to dwell on regret, but I can think about things that happened years ago where I'm like, still wish I would have done something differently,
Yeah, for sure.
but I didn't.
Mhm.
And there's some, and again, it's all relative, right? I mean,
Mhm.
there could be certain things where you're like, now I'm in prison for the rest of my life. I really made a bad decision, but, but,
For
but,
example.
but, but just yeah, right. Which is thankfully not mine, but just this feeling of like, yeah, but I did make the decision that I
Yeah.
made. And that's why my life is the way that it is now.
Yep.
And there is no, take backsies.
Mm-mm.
And there's some when I don't know, I guess I feel sort of down about certain things. It's
Sure.
like I do sort of find comfort in like whatever this is the way that it was supposed to be because
Mhm.
I made
Me
it
too.
so.
Oh, 100%. It's so funny. I
So,
think about this stuff
I know
all the
that
time.
sounds a little like woo woo, but I do try to do that sometimes, especially if I'm not having the greatest day.
Well, you kind of have to. And it's again goes back to my friend and talking about like the state of the world. And you kind of have to like, you have to like flip the script, Like, how can you see this as a positive thing? As, yeah, like this was meant to happen. And no, I mean, you have to, or you'll make yourself crazy with all the what if I did this, what if I did that, and kicking yourself. You'd be kicking yourself all the time. So I think it's a way for, yeah, like it's optimistic, I guess, too. Is
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, and the thing is, what the thing that gives me peace too on that same kind of vein is that it doesn't matter, because that path you didn't take, you could have gotten hit by a bus. Like it just doesn't matter, Like, just
Right.
you really don't know. You make the best decisions you can at the time, and hopefully not be too hard on yourself, because dude, there are some things that I'm like, oh man, why did I do that? But then I'm like, but I did this instead, and that was a crazy cool experience, and I would have never been able to do that. So yeah, I mean, I think the midlife thing does throw you into thinking about this kind of thing a lot. I think it's very, very much a theme of being in your 40s, is looking back and wondering if you would have gone this way and not that. And that's a very big like midlife theme, which I'm sure we will talk about again in later episodes. But if you guys are, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of you can relate to this, and yeah, please email us. We'd love to hear from you and hear your thoughts on all the things.
Yeah. Speaking of all the things, I like to occasionally check in on, what I might be watching, because I know we talk a lot about, especially in our Discord, about what people are watching, whether it's, movie or TV show or whatever. And I've been watching all sorts of stuff these days. And it's funny, when I had my friends in town over the weekend, some of us, we share a love for reality television. And, it's just an unabashed, like, I know it's bad for me, but I'm going to eat this ice cream.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do it again when there's another pint of ice cream that shows up in my television queue. And it's like, which is great, because there are certain people who go like, ooh, well, you're kind of weird for, liking the things that you like. And we all do that to each other. So anyway, kindred spirits. But a show that I did start watching, which I did just start watching it, so I don't have that many thoughts on it yet, but it's this series called Under the Banner of Heaven. Heather,
Yeah, I'm very familiar. I haven't watched it yet. Looks good. Looks like something I would put on my list.
It's and this is something that has to do with religion at its core, and I don't want to get into that too much, because everybody has thoughts on on that topic, and so that's not the point of bringing this up. But the book Under the Banner of Heaven, which was written by John Krakauer in 2003, I read when I was doing some extended travel. It was like a book that some backpacker had left behind.
Oh yeah.
You read a book, you leave
Krakauer
behind,
books,
somebody else
for
takes
sure.
the book. Yeah, it's great. It's great. And I picked it up and I was like, it's a book on, sort of the origins of the LDS Church, Mormonism. And, that's kind of, I could learn a little something about that.
Yeah.
Don't really know anything about that. Read the book and I was like, wow, a lot of this is extremely dramatic, and I didn't know a lot of it, and I was enthralled. I really liked it. I thought it was very well done. If somewhat heavy-handed, from what the author wanted to convey to the reader, But that aside, I thought it was very well done. So anyway, this series, which is funny because I was like, oh, so it's going to be like a nonfiction series about this particular religion, and the origins. And there is a lot of that going on, but it's very much just a full-on drama.
Yeah.
It's funny because I remember the book as being, oh, this is a nonfiction book that's designed to kind of say, okay, then this happened, and then this happened, and then so-and-so got in charge, and then they built this church, and, and that is the book. But there's this whole narrative that I don't really remember from the book. Because again, I read the book more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And at the time I was just reading like 100 books a week. So it was just one of many. And so I'm watching the series and I'm like, oh, so this is like not the same at all, but it actually is. But I don't know. I just didn't remember it, but it is, I don't know if I'd recommend it to a lot of folks. I think that first of all, the subject matter is just not going to appeal to everybody.
Yeah.
That I get. It's also a pacing thing. And I don't totally know what it is. And I don't think it's really the subject matter. It's just there is a deliberate, slow pacing thing that's going on with everyone's monologues. And, it's like I'm into it and I want to keep going, but I'm irked the whole time.
Yeah, totally.
And maybe that's just because I'm impatient. Although I don't really like Aaron Sorkin stuff either, because I think it goes too quick. Where I'm like, the cadence is all too quick. I hate it. So I don't know. It's funny when you get to a series or a movie where you're like, there's a lot of good here.
Sure.
But what about this is bothering me?
Yeah. Oh my God,
And
totally.
It's like, it's just a pacing thing
Yep.
that I'm probably just going to get over.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to bail on the show. I don't know yet. But that's what's been going on in the Lane household.
Well, keep us posted. I I may or may not, with your review, your kind of early review, I'm not sure I will watch it. You let me know. But I know that feeling though, because I was watching, we've been on a real noir kick. I've mentioned this. These are like, movies in the movie realm. I watched a lot of TV last week. I told you guys about it. But my boyfriend wanted to watch that Last Night in Soho, which is just like an Edgar Wright movie. He did Shaun of the Dead and a lot of movies that I
Oh,
really
okay.
like.
I
Um,
love Shaun of the Dead.
but I really didn't like his last movie, and I knew just going in, yeah, it was like it wasn't even a pacing thing. It was more like, yeah, it just irritated me. Like just everything about it bothered me, and it was just interesting. I'm like, what is it specifically that's bothering me about this? Because he's a good filmmaker, and I love Shaun of the Dead. I've seen it like 20 times, and I couldn't finish it. I literally could not. I couldn't do it. It was too.
Mm,
It was almost too glossy, and it didn't have like a really interesting story. I mean, it's good acting, but and it looked good. It like looked good. It had a lot of components for a good movie, but there was something about it. But it is really interesting. And gosh, I've always wanted to have a movie, just deconstruct movie podcast. Wouldn't that be fun? Because I could go on and on and on and on, but I won't. But yes, it is fun talking to the Discorders about what we're watching, and sort of sharing our thoughts. So yeah, if you guys are watching anything that you like right now, please let us know. Hi at
yeah.
havessuchagoodday.com.
I'm always interested in Rex,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like I watch a fair amount of television. Movies, not as much.
Mm-hmm.
I watch more TV than I watch movies. It's also Wimbledon right now, so it's just like, yay, tennis.
Nice.
I just have tennis on. But yeah, it's always, and sometimes, honestly, and I won't call anybody out, there have been things recommended to me that I start and I go, this isn't for me. But that's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it's not good. It's just we can't all watch the same stuff. I mean, what's the fun in that? Speaking of Discord, as Heather mentioned, we do talk about a lot of entertainment stuff in our Discord, as we talk about many things. I mean, it's kind of life and our pets and our kids,
Mm-hmm.
and what's going on with everybody, and how's the weather in your part of the
A
world,
little
because
bit
we're
of
all
whatnot.
scattered around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're interested in being part of that community that happens between shows, you can find out more at patreon.com/have such a good day. That's where you can find out how to directly support the show. Directly supporting the show helps us keep the lights on, so to speak. But actually, it's pretty literal. And we couldn't do it without you.
Nope.
And for those of you who say, well, I love the show, but that's not something I can contribute to on a monthly basis, that's okay. We do offer the show for free. You might hear ads. If you find those ads annoying, well, go back to Patreon and you can get an ad-free version. And if you've got a couple bucks that you can spare per month, 5 to be exact, or more, 5 minimum, you can Discord it up. And Heather and I, we sort of alluded to this, I think it was last week, but we know that we could get a little bit more creative with the Patreon perks that we really haven't touched in a long time. We had made a decision, gosh, I mean, well over a year ago at this point, like, sometimes perks can get a little complicated, and let's keep everything simple for all of our sake, just because we're busy people and we're juggling a lot of stuff, and this really is a labor of love for both of us. It's not like some cash cow. Like, please don't think it is.
No.
That would be great, but it isn't. We just enjoy it.
Yeah.
But we know that we can get creative and put our heads together, and if there is anything that you've thought about, please, the hive mind is what we seek here.
Yep.
Do let us know, because we've always got our ears open for new ideas and fun stuff to try.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything that you're like, God, I wish Heather and Sarah would talk about that. Like they never talk about this or that or whatever. I mean, I know we usually cover a lot of ground. Anything goes really. We don't get too racy, but yeah, definitely let us know if there's something you guys are missing. I mean, we used to play games. There's a long history, as you know. We have 155 episodes, so please don't hesitate to reach out and let us know what you want to hear more about or what you want to hear less about. Maybe we talk too much about spiders, and shoes and
and oh, travel's so
yeah,
hard now.
travel.
Yeah, honestly, half the time I hear myself talking and I'm like, Sarah, oh my gosh, shut
Yeah, I
up.
know.
You
It's
are the worst. So if you feel that way as well, it's okay. I can take it. You let me know.
yeah, hate listen if you want.
You, yeah,
That's totally flies with us.
sure. Yeah. It's a living, breathing organism, this show. The show may evolve into something totally different. It takes a
We
village.
may go off the rails. We have gone off the rails, and
Oh, are we ever? Yeah.
but I'm so stoked. We got a new patron, Chase, just joined
Hey,
us, and
Chase.
Jess up their pledge, which is always exciting to see. We love the dedication that people. I know Jess has been with us for a while, so thank you guys for joining us. We are so incredibly happy to have you. We want tons more of you. Please don't hesitate to join our community because we really do take it very seriously, and we appreciate each and every one of you. Speaking of our wonderful Mike from Discord, who he's
Hey,
prolific,
Mike.
and
Mm-hmm.
we gosh, I mean, we're best buds. So he, I want to kind of bring in some of the Discord conversations because there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and I know we read emails here and there, but it's nice to kind of talk about a little bit. They'll listen to a show and then they have some feedback and that kind of thing. So he says he listened to the latest episode and he's definitely in the I Miss Traveling Club, which is what Sarah and I were talking about a couple episodes back, where we've kind of been staying more put. We haven't been on a lot of airplanes. And so he says, I used to travel about every 2 to 3 weeks for work to different places. So that always filled my desire to explore and see new things. As the heat started to get really bad in June, I really started to struggle with not going to visit my family in Boston this summer. I used Google Flights almost daily to look for any and all options. Part of the fun for me is imagining, aka anticipating, as I was referring to earlier, going and working out the logistics. And part of my nature as a project manager, Mike says, is he definitely would recommend putting in a month, how long, maybe the trip, the ideal trip that you want to budget, and let it show you where in the world you can go. Sometimes you'll be
Mm-hmm.
surprised what pops up. That's a
Oh
really
yeah.
fun tip, actually. I'm going to try that, Mike. Thank you.
100%. I have always enjoyed this. Maybe more so when I was younger, just because I had been fewer places.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I didn't go to Europe when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know a lot of people didn't either, and maybe still haven't if you happen to live in the States or somewhere outside of Europe. But I also knew a lot of people who did.
Yeah.
I wasn't super well traveled at all
Mm-hmm.
until, my mid 20s when
Mm-hmm.
I could make enough money to, get myself on a flight, and go do fun stuff.
Yeah.
And really never looked back. But a lot of that had to do with just like, all right, I have, let's call it $1,200,
Mm-hmm.
to be gone for a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that would include airfare and everything I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
during that time. Like, there's a lot of places I can go.
Yeah.
I got a lot of choices. And depending on where I go is going to totally depend on the experience.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you kind of got to start somewhere. So, Mike, I'm with you on that. It's fun to, sometimes it's just daydreaming.
Yeah.
And sometimes it turns into something more.
Totally. Oh, it's great. It's a really great tip.
We also got a real nice email from Henry, Henry, our friend in Michigan, who was just kind of talking about families and holidays, celebrating birthdays, celebrating Father's Day. Henry said something real nice, that his son gave him a nice Father's Day, but without his mom, I wouldn't have one. And that's true. That's a father can always thank the child's mother for making him a
Indeed.
father, and hopefully everybody's getting along. But I real quick before we push off, I didn't even. This is so Father's Day. We've talked about this already, and I don't want to belabor it too much. Used to be a really hard day for me. As the years have gone on, it is really not a big deal anymore. It's something that is a day of reflection, but it's not something that upsets me, and it did
Yeah.
at one point. And so Father's Day was totally uneventful. I don't even remember what I did. It was
Yeah.
just an okay day. And the other day, And in the past, because my father's buried in a cemetery that's not too far from where I live now, I went a couple Father's Days ago. And it's just the time of year, it's kind of hot around these parts. And I didn't really think about the fact that the cemetery was going to be popping because, of course, lots of people are there to visit graves of
Sure.
dads, like, duh, Sarah, of course. And I went, and it was hot, and it was kind of crowded, and it was sort of loud. And I'm usually more or less the only person there. It's a pretty peaceful place. You might see a few people around, but not really. And this was like, the vibe was all wrong. I didn't stay very long. I was like, that was kind of a dumb idea. But, my intentions were good. Anyway, so this Father's Day, I didn't do that. But the other day, I was taking a drive, as one does, because gas prices are so high, I might as well just drive all day. 'Cause that's smart.
Totally.
And, I had something I had to do, and I was sort of kind of getting close to that area. And I just was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the cemetery. I'm going to go right now. And I don't really know why. It was like I was propelled something.
Totally. Like the
I was propelled
spontaneity.
and compelled. Yeah. And I went, and it was quiet. Didn't see another soul, not one other person. And I was there for a little bit, and it was, kind of windy, so it wasn't that hot. And it was, I sometimes wonder, I'm like, why am I doing this? Am I about to get really sad right now? And no, I wasn't. I felt like I didn't even really give myself time to think too hard about it. I just sort of went there quietly for a little bit, and then it was time to go, and I left, and it was really nice.
I'm telling you,
that's that's my story.
No, that's a great story, Sarah. And it's that spontaneity. I'm telling you, I think the most interesting moments and experiences I've had this year have been spontaneous ones. Just doing something on a whim. And I highly recommend, just sort of not sitting there wondering about how it's going to play out or what I should pack.
Right.
Just go and do it. On that note,
we're gonna go.
We're gonna go, and y'all gotta stay beautiful. And
you do beautiful on the inside.
Oh,
and
of
you're,
course.
and you will radiate beauty on the outside as well.
100%.
I've never said that phrase once before, so I don't even know if that's
There's a first for
accurate.
everything.
Yes, there is. But yeah, thanks everybody for being with us through episode 155. An hour of good fun for us. Hopefully it was for you as well. We'd love to hear from you, rather. Hi at havessuchagoodday.com. In between this show and our next show, which will be episode 156 for those keeping score. But until then, it's been real, and I will remain Sarah.
I will always remain Heather, not Sarah. Have such a good day.
You'll be Heather forever. Have such a good day.